unless women take equal space in the public sphere, then we're always going to have politics and policy which doesn't reflect the full needs of society.
In the 70s, a lot of learning took place round kitchen tables. Women who are particularly excluded. If we want to include them, we need to move back to the kitchen table.
I absolutely do not think that women are lacking in any way, but we haven't had the opportunities, and now we're taking those opportunities.
70–80% men in the Northern Ireland Assembly. The problem is that seems the norm, and we need to challenge the norm.
Extra women, taking the stage, not being afraid to come forward and having the confidence to say, we matter and our views matter.
Today we're in the Millennium Forum to have a conference on leadership. We have invited many, many wonderful women to the conference as speakers and as participants. The project is most specifically about asking and helping women to take on a public role. It can be a parent-teachers association, it can be to speak up at a meeting, it can be to develop themselves.
I think it's really important for women to actually come and have a whole day where they can focus on the issues they want to talk about, bring to a point all the learning and training and discussion they've done in various groups, and to know that women don't all have to speak with a one voice.
One of the great things about the Strategic Leadership Programme was that we met a fantastic band of strong, passionate, intelligent, well-qualified women who had a lot of fantastic qualities to offer, and I think all of us learned from each other to a huge degree.
The women doing the programmes that have been set up by the Women in Public Life project have been doing really work which is about saying they want to be involved in public life, they're prepared to be involved in public life, they need the skills. They're raring to go, but we need the men in public life, we need the people who are in public life already to take notice of this.
Women in the Republic of Ireland state bodies held 27% of the positions. Agree, disagree, not sure.
If it's an economic kind of focused board, then the percentage of men seems to go way up and the percentage of women reps drops.
And my point is social change. So it's how do we change that space? How do we continue to bring that discussion to the table every time without it being that thing where, there she goes again.
It has to be that a woman in a room cannot be targeted because there are other women in the room saying the same thing.
It is definitely a mix between women not having the confidence and women not having the confidence because the system, as they look at it, talks back to them mainly from a male point of view. So if everywhere you look there are more men, you don't feel you have a right to be there.
We can complain a lot, but I'm all about the doing, and I think that this conference is about practical ways to get out there, to live your lives, to be an individual, to be a member of your family and your community.
In lots of ways, women already have got the skills, and courses like these, I think, are about them recognising the skills that they have, the skills that are transferable for public life.
I do believe in having the confidence to stand up and having my view heard, and I desperately want other women to have that. So in a way that we are confidence building together.
It's great to see a proactive project like this, and hopefully we'll see a lot more women in boardrooms soon.
I think it's good for networking and to hear other people's opinion and get ideas for your own organisation.
We were on the workshop with Diane Greer on public speaking. Really, really interesting, and a lot of pointers for you to take home and think about.
So there's an onus on us if we want to make a point at a public meeting. If it's already been said, may not have been said as spectacularly as I could say it, then you need to take responsibility. You don't need to make it again. I would say to you, if you've red pants on, see at the table, the interviewer's interviewing away at you, and everything's normal above the table. Under the table, the powers of the sisterhood are at work.
If you look at women in politics in Scotland, there are quite a few grades ahead of us. But we went over as a project to visit the Scottish Assembly, and what was really interesting there was that it's much more family friendly. They close business at 6 o'clock. They have a breastfeeding room. It was really interesting to see that it can be done differently.
Women have actually done rather well out of devolution in terms of the number of women in the Scottish Parliament, etc. But I've been looking at it over the long haul, 13 years on. The message I would give, I think, is that you can't take your eye off the ball. Numbers stall, numbers fall. and so on. And I think one of my messages will be that the time has come for quotas.
In the society that we live in, you know, we have inherited and are passed on norms that tell us that really where we should be in life, and until we challenge that, and the only way to challenge that, I think, is put quotas in place. If you had a requirement on political parties to make sure that there was a substantive number of and percentage of people who were standing for elections in safe seats, I don't believe in just putting a process in place and then saying you tick the box.
Most political parties that I'm familiar with actually struggle to find sufficient women candidates. They're prepared to take them, but the women don't come forward. Whereas here today, there appeared to be a suggestion that women were prepared to come forward, but they weren't being chosen. I said this afternoon, evolution will change it. You've only got to look at the way it's changed in the last 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years. The number of women being educated, the number of women who are no longer tied down with big families.
When we have quotas in place, which we will very soon in the Republic, it won't be that we'll be setting seats aside, or it won't be that you're going to have 40% women. In fact, what we're going to do is insist that women are on the ballot paper and allow the citizen to make that choice. All of the statistics tell us that if we don't do it, it will take about 370 years for us to achieve parity.
You have to make the general public aware of it, as opposed to just the people who are interested in it. The general public need to know that mommy doesn't need to be at home. It has to be put out there.
Let's get the young women interested in this, because it is about the job that they want. It is about how they want to rear their children. It is about the family that they want to create.
There's also issues like selling sexy schoolgirl uniforms and, you know, bikini waxes and stupid hen parties and things like that. People might think they're small things in the grand scheme of things, but I think they're extremely important.
We are trying to encourage women to find their own voice, to think with their own heads, to challenge what is wrong and be a part of putting it right, to include those who are furthest out from the centre. I think we still have a lot to do in the way that we organise and in the way that we develop courses and training.
I think the systems and the structures that exclude women from the political process are the same wherever you are. I think Scotland, we had a big campaign at devolution to get women into Parliament, and then we got a bit complacent and it started to drop again, so we have to just keep fighting for it.
There's a challenge to the mainstream government looking at the surplus of capable, intelligent women to go into politics and start, resourcing education, training and the participation of women in public and political life.
It's all very well to do training, but training only takes you so far down the track, and you have to think about what you can do to put yourself out there, how you can get yourself promoted into public life.
It's terrific to see young, articulate women, coming forward who are very confident and positive about the future. And I think that hopefully they will continue to be involved in events like this and bring that debate, further and on. So I think we're getting there, perhaps not at the pace that people would like to see, but I think we're certainly making progress.
I think we will see increasing numbers of women taking their place, because if you look back in the last 10, 12, 14 years in Northern Ireland, before the Good Friday Agreement, women were almost invisible. Neither in government. So there is a movement there. It's maybe not just fast enough for an old horse like me who wants to see it done in her lifetime, but that will happen.
We've reached women that would otherwise be hard to reach and hard to engage. The project is most definitely about the vehicle that helps the women to get there. We had to go and find the women, which we did, and I'm very happy about that success, because it's a plethora of different types of women, and I think that's really what this has been about. Yes, we've questioned establishments, we have had seminars, we have had some research done, but for me, I think by far and large the fantastic achievement is the learning that's taken place.